Maloney with the corner in towards Watson!
Welcome to the first edition of the Heritage Podcast, brought to you by the official supporters club alongside the Heritage Project. Since inception in August 2023, the Heritage Project have brought you numerous interviews with past players from our non-league days right the way through to FA Cup winners. So these interviews aren't lost forever and that they can be enjoyed by Latics fans far and wide, we'll now be bringing these to you in podcast form, along with fan memories on some of the best and worst moments in our history. In order to kick off the podcast, we wanted to bring you the story of one of the best players to ever play for the club. A former captain who spent 5 seasons here, he will no doubt be a regular fixture in most fans' best ever Latics XI. See if you've managed to guess the first guest on the Heritage Podcast.
Harry Dazoo, thanks for joining us. Absolute Wigan athletic legend and a great way to kick off the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
Excellent.
And
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. Quickly, before we talk about your career and your time at Wigan, how's life now? What are you doing now? Are you still involved in the police work that you did when you left, or are you still in football? What are you doing these days?
Yeah, a bit of both. Currently still working for the police, a little bit less, and doing a little bit more coaching as a manager at the sort of 4th tier in Holland. And just became a dad again, which was quite a surprise.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, we got a little boy named James, who was born in April, 1st of April. And so, yeah, it's a busy life at the moment.
I can imagine, yeah. Has he got the new Latics kit yet?
He hasn't yet. So that's something we have to aim for.
Definitely, we'll have to get that sorted. We'll talk more, obviously, about your Latics career than the rest, but we'll just briefly cover everything. So, born in a seaside town, I believe, in northern Holland, but you weren't really into football first. You did your medical degree first, didn't you? How did you get into football? Because you didn't turn pro until 22, did you?
Correct. 1 year before, 21.
21, sorry.
No, I agree. I loved football, but I was always sort of just outside the first 11 in all the regional teams and regional selections. So I was still hoping to become a pro one day, but I didn't really count on it anymore until it happened. But it took me a while to make my mark. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, so you were playing. You were playing for a side called Telstar in Holland. What division were they in at the time?
At the time, they were the 2nd tier, so they were like the championship. In Holland, you only have 2 tiers of professional football, which is the sort of Premier League and the Championship. And Telstar were like a championship team, sort of mid-table team, never really involved in promotion or relegation. But it was a good club to start. And this year they've actually made it to the Premiership, so that's quite exciting times for my old club. But yeah, it was a good way to start because I had an agreement that I could combine my professional, sort of semi-professionalship with my studies at the university.
Right. Okay. So you were kind of covering off both angles there, then that's good. you moved to Barnsley from there for $250,000. Barnsley obviously must have seen something in you. What was it like moving from Holland over to England? A good friend of mine did a book about Barnsley, Dave Cusio, and he mentioned that you said it was a bit of a culture shock driving through the night in a northern town and arriving in a hotel. What was it like moving to England?
Yeah, it was a bit of a culture shock. We arrived on a midweek on Manchester Airport, and it was absolutely pouring down with rain. It was windy, and they picked us up. Eric Winstanley, who was the assistant, picked me up in his Mazda, which was not a very big car, and I had my father-in-law at the time with me, and my agent, who were two big guys, well shaped. Let me put it that way. So we were squashed into this car, and we drove through the through the moorlands from Manchester to Barnsley. And we were zigzagging along the hills, and it felt such a isolated, lonely place where we were going to go that I wasn't sure what was going to happen there. It turned out to be a great move for me. It turned out to be a great club to start my career. Obviously, we made it into the Premiership in the second season, and the whole town sort of erupted. But it was also a bit of a shock in the sense of people were talking a language that didn't sound like English. They were, they've got a very particular accent down there. And it was, for me in the beginning, it was very hard to understand what people were saying. And obviously the town itself had some bad times. And there was a lot of poverty. So it was something to get used to in the beginning.
Yeah, that must have been really difficult for you because you were probably just picking up the language, and then you moved to Wigan where we have our own accent and our own language. So that must have been another culture shock for you. You mentioned obviously there Barnsley. Yeah, you got promoted to the Premier League, relegated unfortunately after one season, but you did get a win. You did get a win at Anfield and a clean sheet. What are your memories from that game?
Well, the Anfield game were quite special, really, because Danny Wilson, who was the manager at the time, obviously tried everything for us to stay in the Premiership. And we had a very small selection, quite a few injuries, so we were struggling really to get 11 guys on the pitch who were capable of playing at that level. So we went to Liverpool away, and we really needed to win that game to have a chance to stay up. And instead of approaching the game very seriously, Danny Wilson thought, right, we have to do something different. So he ordered the coach to pull up in front of the hotel at 8 o'clock in the evening. We all got loaded into the coach. We drove to the nearest pub, went to the pub. He all treated us on 2 drinks, 2 alcoholic beverages if we wanted. We had a game of darts, played cards. Had a really good night. Nobody was bothered that was thinking about the game too much. And then the next day we went in there with an open mind and managed to win 1-0 away at Anfield. It was, at that time for us, was a massive victory.
Yeah, tactical genius there. Did that happen at every game after that?
No, unfortunately not.
No.
I think the one-off effect, you must have thought, no, unfortunately not. And probably for the better. As a manager now, I would say that one-off thing might have worked, but I don't think that would work every week.
No, maybe not. A couple of good wins that season in the FA Cup. You beat Spurs, beat Man United. Unfortunately, you missed the second game through injury, but obviously, as we say, relegated from the Premier League. You did one more season at Barnsley in the Championship, or Division 1 as it was then, before joining Latics on a free transfer. Probably one of the greatest free transfers that we've ever signed. What was it like moving to Wigan? As we say, culture shock there with Barnsley and the language, and then you come to Wigan. How was the club sold to you? We'd just moved into the new stadium. What made you sign on the dotted line at Wigan?
Well, it started well. I was having talks in Scotland with Hearts and Hibernian, and then Wigan came at the last minute. Really, we were quite far in the talks with Hearts, and it looked like I was going to move to Scotland. And then John Benson came and said, listen, we want you to have a look at Wigan. And obviously I was initially a bit apprehensive because they were playing second division. But then, they picked me up with the private jet, flew me to the club. introduced me to the chairman and the manager. Had a look around the stadium, heard about the plans that Dave Whelan had for the club, and then obviously they made me a good deal. And I thought this could be a club where you could have a great time by getting promotion and looking forward to promotion to the Premiership again. So sometimes it's really nice to join a club that's got a plan and has got a positive future outlook. So I got a good vibe because of them conversations and what they showed me, and eventually made me sign for Wigan at the last minute, really.
Good stuff. Glad we did that, because by the sounds of it, you were going elsewhere. Did Andy Liddell or Darren Sheridan tempt you at all? I don't know if Shez had signed at the same time as you, but Lids was obviously here. Did you speak to them before you came down at all?
Well, Brendan O'Connor was the first one to make contact. I played with him at Barnsley, and he contacted me. He said, "Listen, Wigan is a good club. You need to have a look at the offer they want to make." And so he sort of introduced me, and obviously Andy Liddell popped up when we had the contracts negotiations to sort of support the idea that I was going to go to the club. So that helped, obviously, knowing two players from before, and they were both selling me the club in a very positive manner. So that certainly helped, yes.
I don't think it was your first game. I think you probably played a few away, but obviously we opened the new stadium against Man United, who at the time, of course, were the treble winners. They'd just completed the treble. What was it like to play in that game, a full house, which obviously you didn't play in front of very often, but what was it like to face United? We've got a little clip from the game here.
Yeah, obviously for us to open the stadium against the biggest team in England was a massive bonus. Don't know how Dave Whelan sorted out.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good tackle, ain't it?
It did well.
Right on time.
Yeah, I mean, Roy Carroll was a pretty good goalkeeper, but I'm not sure what he's doing there. He was way off his line there, wasn't he?
Roy Carroll was a very good goalkeeper, and but he had his occasional moments. Then again, yeah, I remember me and Roy having a real go at each other in the beginning of the season because he came out, missed the ball, and then blamed another defender for not heading it away. So we had a little spat, but after that we got on really well. He is actually a great guy, but he had some problems with his organising his life. Let me put it that way.
And obviously the clip there that we saw, you stopped Jordi Cruyff from scoring there. Was his dad one of your heroes growing up?
He certainly was. He's probably the best player we've ever had, and not just his playing, but also his idea about football and the way he communicated about it to the players. He had these one-liners that made so much sense and made the game so much easier. It was ridiculous. So it was really nice to play against him, and he was also a friend of Roberto Martinez. So we spoke to each other a few times after that.
Little clip here. I couldn't find many from your actual league debut against Scunthorpe on the Saturday, but I've got a clip here which we won't see very often. Beaten in the air there. That was you being beaten in the air. Roy was way off his line again.
Oh dear!
And Stuart Barber had to clear it off the line. But yeah, not many strikers managed to get in front of you like that, did they, in your Wigan career? Thankfully.
No. But like you said, I had to get used to the physical side of the lower leagues. In a way, it's been a really good experience to play there. Obviously, everybody wants to play at the top tier, but God, you learn how to survive in the lower leagues physically, because the players that just go for everything and stick their head in, stick their elbows in, their shoulders in, and you really have to learn to look after yourself in them leagues.
It was quite a season for us, really. We've gone through 24 games unbeaten. We're 2 points ahead of Preston at the time. Oldham Athletic come down. They beat us 1-0. How much of an impact did that have on the season? Because we kind of fell away in the second half, didn't we? We ended up finishing 12 points behind Preston. We had to obviously go into the playoffs. What changed? Was it the Stuart Barlow? Because obviously Stuart Barlow was firing in the first half of the season and scoring goals, and he'd sort of had an off-field issue with the club and was sort of benched. John Benson was talking of leaving.
Right.
What was it? Was it a culmination of
Well,
things?
them things. Yeah, I think them things sort of coincided, and all these things happening behind the scenes in the back room, but still involve the team. They don't help in the success you want to have. I think teams started to sort of know our game a little bit better, so they presented themselves a little bit better against us, and we were struggling a little bit with that. And obviously, Stuart Balla was our main goal scorer. And when there's things happening in his head behind the scenes, that doesn't help. Like you say, we were flying, and all of a sudden we weren't flying anymore. We were struggling to get points, which was kind of ridiculous. And still, we made it to the playoff final, but unfortunately, didn't get through there as well.
No, unfortunately not. No, I'm gonna show it, and we'll briefly talk through some of the events of that game. As a fan, I loved Wembley, the old Wembley, should I say, with the tunnel. What was it like as a player walking out that far? As a fan, I've seen sort of teams, you can see that they've kind of folded in that walkout. What's it like with the atmosphere and as a player walking out with that long walk?
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's some good old faces to see. It's a shame that he's not there anymore. But for me, Wembley was like the place to play football. It's only finals being played there. And in Holland, I used to always follow the EFA Cup, and obviously going to Wembley was awesome. For me, it was also kind of special because my dad was very ill at the time, and he got flown over via the plane with John Whelan just to make sure he was at this game. So these kind of things sort of stick to your mind and help you remember.
It looked like we were pretty relaxed walking out. Do you think that was because the squad had been there 12 months earlier? We'd won the Auto Windscreen Shield 12 months earlier with a lot of that team. We looked quite relaxed on that walkout. As I say, I've seen some sides sort of panic.
I don't know. For the other guys, obviously, I wasn't there with the Auto Windscreen, but we felt good on the day, and we felt confident that we could win that game. And I think during the game, we showed enough to win it, but unfortunately, the referee didn't help us.
No, he didn't, and that's what we're going to come on to. So, is that over the line? This is the Gillingham goal. Pat McGibbon gets a touch on it. You try to clear it off the line. Is that over the line?
I don't think so. I think it touches the line.
So that puts Gillingham 1-0 up, and then this happens in the second half. What are you doing on the left wing? That's you that puts the cross in on the left wing for.
I'm not sure. You get carried away at some stage. Hey?
You get to put yourself down as an assist then for probably one of the best goals scored at Wembley. It doesn't get replayed very often. It probably would have done if it was in an FA Cup game. Yeah, here you are again. So, are you looking for anyone in particular there, or is it just put the ball in the box?
More or less. Obviously, I'm on the left-hand side, so it's not my strongest. But you try and put the ball in a danger area and hope that somebody will meet it. And Simon obviously had such a great touch. He could do fantastic things with the ball, as he showed there.
Yeah, he did. He had the ability to do things like that. So this is your goal or non-goal, shall we say? That's the linesman who decided that this wasn't over the line. Looks pretty over the line. I'm glad I know who didn't, doesn't it?
Yeah. I would think so as well. And to be fair, the reaction of the guy on the line was more or less, oh God. But we stopped playing after this. We thought it was in because it was so obvious. But some of them kept playing, and obviously we didn't catch on until too late. Felt bad about this, because this was way over the line. But hey,
yeah, I mean it's certainly more over the line than the one that we showed before, wasn't it? The Pat McGibbon one. I think one of the commentators said that it's close. When I was watching it back, I don't think it's close. I think it's pretty obvious that it's over the line, isn't it? But we'll not digress on that. That's in the past.
No, if you ask me, it was definitely over the line. Hey.
And it denies it. Was that your only Wembley? Was that your only Wembley appearance?
Yeah, you're right, because the Carling Cup final obviously was at
Cardiff,
the Millennium Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it denied you obviously a goal at Wembley as well. So we'll not put that linesman on your
Yeah,
Christmas card list just
I
yet.
still every once in a while it comes back in some form, and you go, God, I can't believe he didn't give that goal, because it would have been such a, we would have won the final, and I would have scored at Wembley, and it would be awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely. Obviously, it goes to extra time. We don't get over the line, as you said earlier. John Benson leaves and Bruce Rioch comes in. How did the squad, first off, try and pick itself up after that? Because, as we say, we were flying at Christmas. We really should have gone up that season automatically. We didn't. We then failed in the playoffs in heartbreaking fashion as well. How did you pick yourself up as a squad to go again the next season?
Yeah, it was kind of tough. And I think Bruce Rioch helped by he was very organized, and he had this plan, and he had a plan for every player in every part of the field, and he was very outspoken in what he wanted from everybody. So he made it very clear, and that helped because he had a very positive outlook. So he made us sort of gel together again, and we had a really good start to the season, to be fair. Obviously, until Dave Whelan and Bruce had a little spat.
Yeah, we did. It was strange, really, because, as you say, it was another good start to the season. I think we'd only lost 2 games up until sort of February when Bruce left. Was there any indication it was happening at all? At the time, I think it was the club was saying that he'd resigned. He was saying he'd been sacked. So there was that going on. Did that impact on the squad at all? Because by the sense of it, Bruce was well liked.
I think it did. You have a manager with a certain vision, and it seems to work. And obviously, I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I know we had a photo shoot, and Dave Whelan wanted to chat about the corners, and Bruce had something like, "Hey, listen, it's my team. That's my job. And don't get involved." They had a little spat on the pitch, and afterwards they must have spoken to each other, and all of a sudden we heard in the press that he resigned, and obviously from his point of view that was a little bit different. So where the truth is, we will never know, I think. But it was a bit of a shock to the team, because we were doing well and we had a certain plan, and all of a sudden the guy who was sort of making us follow the plan left. I really thought that was a bad decision. But as a player, these things happen, and you can't really change anything about it after it's happened. You have to get on with things. But I think if Bruce would have stayed that season, we would have probably got promotion.
What is it like as a player, sort of midway through a season, when a manager leaves, especially like you say when we're in the top 6? I think we were 3rd when he left, 3rd or 4th. So it's not like we were fighting relegation or we were in a bad run of form. What's it like as a squad when that happens? How do you sort of deal with that?
Yeah, all things change. After a while, the manager, and you also know certain players that the manager would always pick. The whole hierarchy in the group changes because the new manager comes in, has new ideas, will try out new styles of play or players in different positions, bring in new players, might bring in even new staff, and it just totally changes the whole environment. And most of the times it takes a little bit of time to gel and to catch on with the ideas of the new manager. And that time it's not always what you've got, especially during the season. You haven't got that much time to gel because you have to get on and you have to move on and keep going if you want to challenge for promotion or stay out of relegation or whatever. So it's very unsettling.
Yeah, and I think that was seen. Excuse me. I think that was seen in the results, because we did kind of have a few rocky results after that. Which, as we say, before Bruce left, we were in a good place. Eventually, for the last few games of the season, Steve Bruce comes in. As a defender yourself, what's it like to play under someone who played in your position to a
I used to watch
level?
I used to watch him. I used to watch him play for Man United, and obviously cheering him on, and all of a sudden he was the manager. I was in awe in the beginning, But he was a really nice guy. He was a very he could obviously be very outspoken, but he was a you could talk to him, and obviously he liked my style of defending, so that helped. And he was able to give me little tips, yeah, to make me a better defender. Let me put it that way. He was very much organizing the defense was one of his main things. So obviously for me that was quite good.
Yeah, and I'm sure you could pick some tips up from him. Disappointment again that season in the playoffs. Heartbreak at Reading, winning for most of the pretty much like the Gillingham one the year before, winning for
Yeah,
large parts of the game, and then we lose it in the last few seconds. You got Player of the Year that season though. So as a individual honour, was that good to receive that?
it's always good to receive something like that, but it was a bit of a downer to not get promoted because I came to Wigan to get promotion with the team, and I didn't succeed the first season, and I also didn't succeed the second season. So I was in a bit of a hump for myself because I wanted to do better. But obviously, getting that award and the praise of the fans and players, that's always something special. But it would have been a lot more if we managed to get promotion that season.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul Jewell comes in for what was obviously the era that turned the club around. You talked obviously before then about a different environment when managers come in. Paul was given a contract, we're led to believe, which was the first sort of manager who was given more than a season. If he was given a couple of years. It didn't start well, did it? We struggled. Whereas under Bruce, we'd started really well and then sort of faded.
Mm-hmm.
Under Paul Jewell, we didn't really start well, did we? But then after Christmas was when we sort of started to hit our straps. We brought in a few signings, and I think you could see the potential moving forward, couldn't you?
Well, I think the main thing is that they actually gave Paul a contract, and they sort of, instead of the chairman, if he wasn't happy, he would let the manager go, or would change the management. We had too many managers in the first two seasons that I was there, and it's so unsettling. And with Paul, they made a statement by saying, "Okay, we're going to give you a contract," and he got the time to work on the team. And like you said, he got other players in. He looked at players. He released players that he didn't like or weren't good enough, and we started gelling as a team. And Paul is a proper Liverpudlian. He's got a very dark side of humour, very sarcastic. But he meant really well. But it's something you have to get used to as players as well as a team. He's very critical. He's very outspoken, and it's sometimes hard to take for players. But after a while, you realise that he's doing it to make you a better team and make you a better player. And then you start accepting these things much better. But it takes time. And luckily, he got the time to work on the squad, and showed, obviously, it showed that the squad started gelling and everything, and then things started looking up.
You did, yeah. We got some good results in that second half of the season, notably 6-1 win against Stoke, of which you scored one of the goals here. Typical header from a corner from a defender. Straight into the bottom corner.
Yeah, I used to love them. Yeah.
And then we beat, I think it's Cardiff 4-0, and you got another goal. This one, you literally ball and all, back post, and you end up in the back of the net.
Yeah, I was quite. I try and teach my players that I coach now, especially defenders who are good headers. You have to come and meet the ball. Don't stand there and wait for it. You have to meet it at the last minute. And if it means your whole body goes after it, it doesn't matter. They're the best. But I used to love doing that.
Unfortunately, from our point of view, you left the club at that point, but I don't think many fans begrudged you the move up a level to Portsmouth. You win the league that season and get promoted to the Premier League, so you've kind of achieved what you wanted, albeit not at Wigan. What was it like down at Portsmouth? Some big players down there as well at the time, wasn't there?
Yeah, well, I got a phone call in the summer "Hi Harry, it's Harry," and I thought, "Which Harry?" And it turned out to be Harry Redknapp now. Most people know Harry. He's a very good talker. He's very charismatic, and he sold me the club really well. He told me he was getting in a whole new team. He already contracted 9 players. I was number 10. And we started that season with only 1 player from the team from the season before, and the rest were all new or from other places. But it gelled from the first go, more or less. In the pre-season, we didn't do too well yet, but he stayed really positive and he gelled really well. And obviously, Portsmouth have got a very good fan base. It's sort of a very isolated town. Most of the town is surrounded by sea, so most people are, there's not many Man U or Southampton fans in Portsmouth. So it's very it's a really sort of close-knit town, and there's really good support. It's not a very big stadium, but it's usually full, and they keep singing the whole game and support the team, and it helped us along the way, I have to say.
Yeah, and you got your time back in the Premier League. You were given the captaincy in the Premier League, weren't you?
I was, yeah. Which were initially, it looked like I wouldn't even start in the Premiership. Harry was maybe thinking I wasn't good enough, or I never played at that level. So he got two other centre halves in, and I started as a left back because somebody was injured. But during pre-season, I made sure I got my squad place. Started as left back, then had a go at centre half, and then he decided I was good enough. And obviously, I got the captaincy album later on.
Must have been a big thing for you in your career. Obviously, you've been captain at Wigan a few times, and through that season, but captain of a Premier League side, that must have been a big tick in the box.
Yeah, that's for a player. I think that's a big honour. If you're the captain of a team, you're looked at as somebody that leads by example, that presents the club in a positive manner, and presents the players in a positive manner. And if people see you in that way, that's a big compliment.
Your time at Portsmouth, from outside of the club, Portsmouth fans loved you. I think you got the Player of the Year down there as well. From people outside of Portsmouth, your time in the Premier League and your time at Portsmouth is probably remembered for one thing: the incident with El Hadj Diouf.
Mm-hmm.
Talk us through it and what your sort of feelings were when that was going on.
Well, we were in a very difficult spell with Portsmouth where Redknapp had left. We had a sort of intermediate manager who didn't speak the language, struggled to get his points across. He made me the captain and sort of relied upon me to lead the team. I scored. We were 1-0 up at Bolton Wanderers, and we really needed to win that game. And Diouf sort of dribbled into the box, and as soon as somebody got near him, he fell over trying to get a penalty. So I told him he could, he should work in a theatre, stop being an arsehole, something like that. And nothing happened. I walked away, and all of a sudden, I feel like somebody's behind me. I look around, and I get spat full in my face by him. I don't know why really. I wasn't mean or anything to him. I just told him he'd rather work in a theatre. And it took me by surprise, completely by surprise. And I needed a couple of seconds to think about what happened. And then obviously I wanted to rip his head off his shoulders. But while I was sort of on my way towards him, I thought, this is exactly what he wants. He wants me to get sent off. I'm not going to get sent off by that fool because we need to win this game. So I obviously made a point to the referee. He hadn't seen it. There was a bit of commotion, but I couldn't really smack him in the face after that because that would mean I would get sent off. So after the game, somebody of the BBC approached me and said, well, what happened there? So I told him, and he made sure they got sort of clipped out and shown on TV. that was probably the best thing that happened, because I got loads and loads of letters of Bolton fans who were apologising for the behaviour of one of their players, and they were ashamed of his actions, which was quite surprising. And even 2 or 3 years later, I was at Schiphol Airport, and I got approached by a guy who turned out to be a teacher at an Irish school. And he said, I use you as an example to show that violence doesn't have to be answered with violence all the time. So I thought, hang on a minute. If this comes out of something bad like that, then it's fine by me.
Yeah, I think it, as I say, it's probably the moment everyone outside of the clubs you've played for remember, but it highlights how tough player, but good human being that you are, because I think most players would have reacted differently in that instance. And so,
I have to be honest, Adam. When we played Bolton at home, 3 or 4 players of my team said, "Don't worry, you don't have to hit him. We'll do it for you." So I had 3 or 4 players of my team that said if he touches the ball, he's up in the air. He got taken off as well at that game, so that worked out fine by me.
Worked out well.
The referee already warned me. Listen, I know what you're going to do. Don't do it, and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll come to something similar to that shortly. Obviously, in different circumstances. Your time at Portsmouth comes to an end with a fallout with the manager. Probably again the best thing for us, because you come back to Wigan for the measly fee of £90,000. So I think £90,000 spent for the 2 spells that you had at the club was tremendous. But we're in the Premier League at this point, so you still under Paul Jewell, of course. So we're now in the Premier League. Was it a simple decision to come back?
In a way, it was, because the manager who got the job at Portsmouth, we didn't see eye to eye. That's the first time I sort of had a spat with the manager, but he was just. He wasn't truthful. He would say one thing and do something else, and I confronted him with that, and he didn't appreciate that. And I wasn't used to that kind of behavior. I never had managers that would say we go right and then turn out to go left. Obviously, it didn't work at all with the team as well. But he had other things in mind, and he didn't see me as a starting player, which is obviously a manager's decision. But Paul Jewell sort of informed, listen, if you're not going to get games there, we're very interested. So obviously I knew I was going to play at Portsmouth, because he already told me, listen, I don't like you, you will not play for me. So that was good enough for me to say, listen, I'm at a certain age. I loved playing in the Premiership, and I got the chance at Wigan. So obviously knowing the club from before and knowing Paul Jewell, that made it not a very difficult decision, even though I really enjoyed my time at Portsmouth.
Given the armband at Wigan, probably certainly one of the more Premier League experienced players that we had. Fixtures come out, first game of the season, we've got the champions at home. Big occasion, obviously, first Premier League game, made that little bit bigger by the fact it was the champions. We had a little, as I say, probably an inexperienced squad in terms of Premier League level, because the majority of it was the squad that had come through from the second division. How did you captain that side? What was your sort of message before that Chelsea game, letting the occasion get to you kind of comments?
Yeah, but enjoy it. Play your heart out and enjoy it, because these are the games you want to play. That's what, you guys and myself, obviously at Portsmouth, but you guys at Wigan have worked for all these years to get to this level, and it'd be a shame to let it go by you're not really giving your best shot because you're a bit apprehensive and you're in awe of the opponent. And to be fair, we didn't have the best of players, but as a team, we really had a good time together. Training sessions were always fun. There was lots of laughter, and the lads, had good fun together. And that transferred onto the pitch. We battled for each other, and we helped each other out. And obviously against the former champions, it's the best you can start, really. You got a full house, and it's much better than start against West Ham or something like that.
I don't think many fans, pundits, well, a lot of pundits didn't give us a chance all season, but I don't think many gave us a chance in that game. But we'll come to it again in a sec. But we really pushed them that day, didn't we? We could have won the game, probably should have won the game on hindsight.
Yeah, and eventually, obviously, did not. But that also showed us, that is the Premier League, because they brought on Crespo, who on his own cost probably as much as our whole team.
Yeah.
And if you can bring quality players in like that for the last 10 minutes, then it's going to be a tough battle. But that was okay. We enjoyed a tough battle that season.
Yeah, it was one of those things as a fan, like you say, Crespo comes on, and as a fan you're thinking, I'm watching a great player here, and then sort of 15, 20 minutes later he does what he did. This is the clip. So it hits the wall, we break away. Gary Teal, probably the fastest man on the pitch. Unfortunately, we don't score from this, and everybody thinks, that's it, 0-0 draw. It's roughly around about 20 seconds later from that shot to when the ball hits the back of the net. That's how quick things can change in football, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's annoying because Uto makes sure he doesn't shoot with his right, because he's got a fantastic strike, and he cuts it to his other leg and then hits it top corner.
And does the same.
Annoying. Still annoying when I look at it now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those. I think that as a fan, we've walked off that game sort of disappointed that we've lost, considering how well we've played. But then a few days later, you think we pushed Chelsea all the way. Chelsea needed a 94th minute strike to beat us. If we play like that every week, we're not going to do too bad in this league. And obviously that turned out to be right. Good season. We go on a good run. We win at we win at Everton. We go down to your old stomping ground at Portsmouth, and we win down there. We're sat second in the table. We obviously have the cup run and get to Cardiff. The last minute goal at Arsenal, a sort of real memory of mine that I'll never forget. The moment when that goal goes in and we realise we're in the final. You talked about having a lot of fun in the squad. Jimmy Bullard is in that squad, so obviously there's going to be a lot of fun in there. Have you got any Jimmy Bullard? Have you got any Jimmy Bullard stories?
Oh, that's too many. But there's also a few stories that you wouldn't want to tell on air. Let me put it up there. Okay. But Jimmy is, I remember one thing at a hotel. They're like, we get this complaint about paintings being destroyed or damaged in a hotel, and I didn't know what it was about, but there was a claim and we had to pay a certain amount of money to cover the costs. And initially we didn't know what happened, but it turned out that Jimmy Bullard had got bored of playing darts and started to play darts at paintings in the hotel lobby. Obviously picturing it was somebody, and then making sure he would hit him on the nose or in the mouth or whatever. Jimmy was always thinking about things a little bit different than most other people. But to have him in the squad did help. Certain times there's a lot of tension, or there's a lot of, and he would always knew how to enlighten the mood. He would sometimes be ridiculous, stupid, and he would get told as well, Jimmy, come on, you can't do this, mate. This is ridiculous. But a lot of the times he was one of them, bubbling characters that would always make sure that we get a laugh on our faces. And the main thing about football is that you have to enjoy it, and it certainly helped to have somebody like him in the squad. Yeah, even though at some stages, me as a captain think, oh, Jesus Christ, you can't do this, mate. It's bad how it looks for the club and for the team. But Jimmy had no sense of what would be too much or what would.
Yeah, like you say, it must be good to have around, especially to keep that morale up. If results were going well, but in a time when results aren't going well, probably good to have him around. We get to Cardiff. Our first major final. For the majority of us, I think we probably thought our only major final. We talked before about Wembley and the long walk out. This is literally 3 steps and you're on the pitch. How's that different as a player?
Yeah.
What's it like? Which one do you prefer? What do you remember of this day?
Well, the occasion, this occasion obviously was much bigger than the player final. A cup final against Manchester United. So this made more of an impact even on me than even the Wembley. And it's funny, if I look at these pictures again, I think we as Wigan players were all a little bit in awe of everything around us: the fireworks, the entrance, the crowds, building up to the game. For us, this was such a special occasion. For Man U, it was another cup final. And we started the game quite nervous and apprehensive, and unfortunately, that showed. They took control of the game very quickly, and we struggled to get into the game at all. I think a lot of it was to do with the fact that we were much in awe of everything that happened around us.
Yeah, not helped, of course, with Mike Pollock going off injured early on as well. Does the roof have an impact?
No.
You talked there about the atmosphere and obviously the noise. Does the roof being shut have an impact on that? Is it harder to play effectively indoors?
No, I didn't experience any difference really. If anything, it makes it more compact and more cozy. Let me put it that way. Yeah.
There's always debate whenever Wales play in rugby and decide to shut the roof or open the roof. There's always sort of debate from the other team. So I just wanted to know what the feeling was there.
I did. No.
You talked before about the retribution almost on Helaj Diouf. In that game against United, there were spells where a certain individual looked like he was at an exhibition match. Disrespecting us slightly, some people would say. 8 days later,
Yeah,
we play them at home, and this happens, which is probably one of Latics fans' favourite Ari Dazoo moments. If we said, what's your favourite Dazoo moment? A lot of people will say putting Ronaldo in the 3rd row of the West Stand. Was that retribution for the week before, or did you just simply mistime the challenge?
Well, that's what I told the referee, but it certainly was retribution. No, but he took the mickey out of Leighton Baines, who had already been booked, and obviously couldn't do much about it. One of the things that sort of stood by me, Gary Neville walked up and more or less said, "Yeah, I know he had this coming," and he more or less agreed. Listen, if you're going to play in the English Premiership, you have to respect other players. Don't take the mickey out of them. To be fair to Ronaldo, I think he changed his attitude the years he started playing a bit longer in the Premiership. You could see him from being a bit more arrogant in his playing style to a bit more mature. I don't know if this helped, but it was certainly part of a retribution for his behaviour in the Carling Cup final, and I told him that as well.
Fair play, and like I say, probably one of Latics fans' favourite moments from yourself. That season ended at Highbury. We were more than safe. I think we finished 11th that season.
Mm-hmm.
Last ever game at Highbury, so that was a pretty big occasion for us to be part of. We pushed them again all the way. They obviously needed to win to get in the Champions League ahead of Tottenham, which put a little bit more spin on it. The kickoff was delayed slightly, although there was talk it was going to be. After the game, we've had a great season. You win Player of the Year again. But it's probably more remembered for an incident with Pascal in the changing rooms. Did that happen? Was that true? Did he have a transfer request in his sock? What happened? That you can tell us, of course.
Well, yeah, he did. Let me put it that way. He did put in a transfer request. Yes. And he did it in a manner that we were all a little bit gobsmacked. What the fuck's happened here?
Yeah.
So, excuse me.
No, it's okay. It's okay. As captain, how do you deal with that? Because, like I say, it can't have gone down well with the squad.
No, well, yeah, we talk about it, and you have to see how it sort of evolves the story. We were quite shocked about it and thought it wasn't the right thing to do. But then again, we knew Pascal as a very, he did really well for us. He had a fantastic season, we did wish him the best. Only the way he did it wasn't respectful. I did not like that. I don't think you should do it that way. Let me put it that way. But that's his decision, and obviously he wanted to look out for his own future. But he did it in a disrespectful way, I think. Yeah. And I'm sure if he looks back at it, he would have done it a different way. He was also a young guy who, all of a sudden, there was a lot of attention for him, and I think it was difficult for him to cope with that.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, he'd done so well for us. He was a big fan favourite, and it just kind of left a sour note on his time at the club, unfortunately, with the fans as well. Second season, we struggle, which I think was always going to happen. You see a lot of clubs' second season syndrome, as they say, but we managed to stay up. You didn't play that many games that season. You started to get a few injury struggles, but you did play in the last game briefly. So the Battle of Bramhall Lane, as it was known. What was the build up like?
Yeah.
What was the build up like to this game? Because it was basically a cup final, wasn't it?
It was only a cup final with sort of, when a cup final you're looking forward to try and win something, and here you were trying to prevent something from happening, obviously from us going down. I had not the best of seasons. I got troubled by injury, sort of niggling foot injury with a little bone that started to sort of break up and eventually grew back, and by the time I knew what was happening, it was quite a few games further on in the season, and we were a little bit struggling then. I sort of started the game already partially injured, and it didn't work out for me that game. But eventually, for some reason, we survived. I thought Sheffield were the better side, but we managed to score them also important goal. I'm trying to think who scored the penalty.
David Unsworth scores the penalty.
God, it was David Unsworth. David Unsworth, of course, that penalty. I think it was the good thing that David Unsworth, and I thought it was really fantastic from him with his experience that he stood up and sort of took the ball and said, "Listen, I'll make sure this one goes in." He sort of had that air about him. No worries, lads. He took it, scored it, and we stayed up.
And we were.
I think that was his
second half
biggest
as well,
achievement. Oh, we were, and I think that moment that showed him. I thought I obviously knew David from a spell at Portsmouth, and he was a great guy. But then he showed me he was a tough character. He showed us, with his experience. Listen, no worries. I'll look after this.
Paul Shannon's just put us 1-0 up, and then so we're winning 1-0 at the time, and then obviously our captain, our rock at the back, goes off. This, unfortunately, is the last time we see you in a Wigan shirt as well.
I thought that I let the team down there. Yeah, it felt like I was letting the team down there, sort of hobbling off the pitch, and I felt really bad about that. But also, I could not, with a smile on my face, I could not just stay in the game wanting to do something that I couldn't do, and maybe be the cause of us losing a game because I couldn't play properly.
Well, unfortunately, we lost Harry there due to some technical difficulties. We have reached out to him, and hopefully we can bring you some more in the future. That was, as we said, his final game for the club, that win against Sheffield United that kept us in the Premier League. Over 200 games across those two spells, captain for two of the biggest moments in our history, that opening day against Chelsea and the Carling Cup final. He was also once voted the best player to ever play for us in a PFA poll, so I think it's fair to say he is a true Latics legend. Please check out the Heritage website and social media pages for regular Latics history, and why not pop along to the museum, which is now located in the East Stand before home games. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back soon with more interviews and memories from you, the fans, discussing the history of the greatest club in the world on this, the Heritage Podcast.